Has Ukraine finally blunted Russia's Avdiivka offensive? And are pro-Russian Ukrainian politicians finally getting what they deserve? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's October 28th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get right into it. Okay, first taking a look at the combat map. There's no updates to the control map at all, which is itself sort of newsworthy, right? We've seen over the last couple of days Russia's offensive work outside of Avdiivka, their attempt to encircle it, has gradually slowed. And now for the last 48 hours, we've seen no real movement from the Russian side, which means, at least to me, that Russian forces may have lost some of the strategic momentum they thought they had going into this battle. Again, mechanized assaults rely heavily on surprise and deception, as well as lightning-fast attacks, and Russia seems to have been unable to conjure up any of those, despite throwing a tremendous amount of resources at the Ukrainian forces in and around Avdiivka. And as we've seen from this conflict, once you have about 7 days of an offensive, it's very easy at that point to start to deploy reserves, to allocate units, and shore up defensive efforts. And because this war favors the defense so heavily, it means in turn that the ability of Ukraine to defend itself rose probably beyond the ability of Russia to seize meaningful territory. That doesn't mean we won't see continued changes. It means to me that the likelihood of them actually completing an encirclement is very, very low. Across the front line, we've seen only about 47 combat engagements, which is a bit on the low side of average for Russia. But what's interesting is that, of course, they remain scattered pretty evenly across the front lines, 3 in and around Avdiivka, just 1 in Bakhmut, and none in the northern Kharkiv region. So this looks more like fixing efforts or spoiling attacks than any sort of real effort by Russia to engage in offensive action. Guys, of course, as always, if you're interested, if you're an energy drink addict like I was, of course you are dropping like $4-5 on these energy drinks now. Inflation's kicking everybody's ass. But that's why I created Strike Gum, right? When I was in the military, of course, I used to take these Rip It energy drinks. They were this terrible, gross energy drink, and I had to take them on patrol to get a source of caffeine that I could pop and go and keep my energy levels high. Well, you guys probably know those things were loaded with sugar, loaded with carbonation. They tasted absolutely revolting, especially in the 100-degree plus Afghan heat. That's why I invented Strike Gum. Well, I worked with a manufacturer in Denver. I can't take all the credit, right? Would you really trust a product that I made in my kitchen? No, I worked with professionals. But we came up with a formulation that has 0 sugar, 5 calories, 90 milligrams of caffeine, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, a powerful nootropic, and we fit it all into one little piece of gum. So, man, if you are interested in the energy drink alternative, no sugar, no bloat, no caffeine, and best of all, right, it's way less expensive. A tray, so 75 pieces, right, the equivalent of 75 energy drinks, is on sale. It's going to run you literally like 68 cents a piece, and way cheaper than energy drinks for the same exact rush. Best of all, 50% of the profits from each sale, at least for this first production run, are going to support charities that benefit Ukrainian civilians who have been injured or displaced in the conflict. So check us out at strikegum.com. Okay, let's talk about some of these politicians, these yahoos. So notably, Oleg Sarov, he's a pro-Russian former Ukrainian politician who was wounded in an attack in Crimea. So this is a pro-Russian politician, likely who had been booted out as Russia invaded. And of course, Ukrainian intelligence has a long memory. So they targeted, I believe it's Ukrainian intelligence. I have no sources for this, but common sense dictates. This individual, of course, was shot twice on the premises of the sanatorium, which I thought was interesting. That's, I believe, an antiquated term for a place where people go when they're very ill. So I wonder if he himself was sort of, it's a place for people who are either convalescing or have a chronic illness. So if he lives there, it probably means he was experiencing some kind of long-term medical recovery, or had some sort of long-term medical issue. But he was targeted when the ambulance arrived. Of course, he was unconscious and had lost a fair amount of blood. But he's in intensive care and may still live. Again, what's more interesting to me, actually, three sources with Russia's post-invasion plans told Reuters that Moscow had been looking at Mr. Sarov to head a puppet government in Kiev if they had succeeded in ousting Zelensky early in the war. But Mr. Sarov, who runs hotels in Crimea, said that it was, of course, fake news and had nothing to do with reality. Of course, he had previously been Speaker of the Parliament of Russia's Novo Russia project, an entity that backed some of these Russian separatists. So a really interesting, it's a really interesting sort of turn of events, and most likely reflects a belief, we'll say, that, he had his comeuppance and it was probably backed by Ukrainian intelligence. But this is on the heels, of course, of the rumor of Vladimir Putin's death. And while the Kremlin continues to deny it, there hasn't been a public appearance of Putin. That is what I find strangest. It's unproven rumors, certainly, but here's Russia can disprove these rumors very easily by having Putin make a public appearance of any kind. And when you start to see other state level leaders, senior folks, engage in I'm trying to think of the non-demonetized word, get KIA'd, so to speak, it does make you think that there may actually be some Russian intrigue at work. There may be sort of consolidating loyalties among senior officials, particularly those who control a lot of wealth or a lot of loyalty. And this individual may actually have that. So I would say that my first guess, I'd say about 80% likelihood this was Ukrainian intelligence taking out an enemy politician who conspired to betray Ukraine. But I'd say there's a 20% chance that there's still something going on with Kremlin politicking. But we'll stay on top of it. Hit like and subscribe to stay out, because that I will be the first to let you know when these things go down. Thanks to all the Colonel tier members at combatvetnews.com. Thanks to our Lieutenant tier members. As always, you guys know I can't do this without you guys. It's rare that advertisers even come over to they do this kind of content. So having you guys have my back means the world. Thanks again. See ya.